Well, okay, doing busy work, getting ready to do the sheet metal work on this. The next thing I'm going to work on is the actual clutch pedal. Clutch and brake assembly. This right here came straight out of the car. It has the typical problems the others had, other than the fact that the rust I'm going to have to clean up. This is what we're going to be doing. 60-year-old parts. They're all going to have trouble, and as you know, I'm doing a T5 conversion on this, running a BorgWarner T5 world-class 5-speed transmission with overdrive. That requires a couple of different things. There's two ways you can go on this. You can use the T5 bell housing and a cable clutch, or you can use an adapter plate to go into a 66 Mustang manual transmission bell housing and use the stock clutch. I like the feel of the cable clutch better. To me, it feels a little bit better. It's much less convoluted, if you want to, if you will. But what we have to do in order to do that is a couple of different things. Number one, for smoother operation, the first thing I'm going to do is this. If you look at this, these bushings right here on either side, this is fairly typical of an old car like this. You can see that the bushings are completely broken down. So I'm going to have to pull these out and break down this entire assembly. Now what I'm doing, if I can set this down for just a moment, is I'm using a couple of different products from a company called Mustang Steve, who is in Cleburne, Texas. Now I have used this kit before, the cable clutch kit, on a prior Mustang that I built. I bought the entire assembly as opposed to using what I had. This is a budget build. I'm trying to get away using as many original parts as I can. So what this is going to require me to do is break this down, pull this out, then you use this system here, which basically replaces the bushings with bearings. So your clutch runs much, much smoother. Now this does require some welding and some cleanup, but these are the bearings that I'm going to be replacing those bushings with. This is a pretty comprehensive kit. It requires a lot of work and requires some welding. There's a good chance, since this is requiring welding, I'm going to screw it up. If I screw it up, I'll simply order a new clutch arm from Mustang Steve and be done with it. But I wanted to save the money and do it this way, and we're going to give it a try. That's step one, the bearing replacement for these bushings. Step two is this. You have to take, this is the clutch pedal right here. You have to take this piece right here, the very top of the clutch arm, which I would move, but it's spring-loaded at the moment, and you have to weld a device on top of it, and I'll share it on the screen right now. It is a cable clutch quadrant. You have to weld that to the top of this. Essentially, it is a curved item that the clutch runs into. You drill a hole through the firewall. It has an adjustment that bolts to the firewall, so you can actually adjust the cable at the firewall and at the bell housing. Very adjustable, very smooth actuating cable clutch, but I have to weld that piece to there. I have not got that piece yet. I do have the bearings, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to order the quadrant after I talk to Mustang Steve, the quadrant, the cable for the cable clutch, and all the necessary items for that. I've already got the bearings for this, and we're going to get busy. First thing I have to do is take this system apart, get rid of those bearings, clean everything up, paint it, expose it, weld the bearing races into this, and then of course mount the pedals on there. But I will not mount the pedals until I get the quadrant, so that's why I'm going to go ahead and move forward and get all the pieces that I need to get. Let's get started. I have to be careful with this because I don't want this spring to kill me when it pops out of there. Now these are the bushings right here in question. As you can see, these are very well damaged. They're going to have to come out. It's okay because that's what I got the bearings for, is to replace them. But I've got to remove those so we can get everything else welded into place. Bushings are out. Now I'm going to pull the clutch stop out because I'm going to tear this completely apart so I can get it nice and clean. Where I spend half my time looking for the wrench I just had, and about 25% of the time trying to find the right size. See, that's held on by a carriage bolt and a 1/2 inch nut. These here, 1/2 inch as well, but I think I'm going to be better served to get a socket after that. This, of course, is the hook for the spring for the clutch to spring load the pedal. And as usual, I put the nuts back into it, that way I don't lose anything. All right. This piece, if I can get my vise loose, is ready to be cleaned up. Now I'm going back and forth. Do I want to use a Vapo rest on this, or do I just want to brush it? I'll get to that in just a second. This, of course, is the brake pedal. I'm going to leave this intact for now. This is the brake light switch, believe it or not. That's how it goes on there. But this, you can see these bushings definitely have seen better days. We're going to replace those. The clutch pedal, I'm not certain, but I don't think I need this bar right here because we're using a cable clutch instead of the standard mechanical linkage that the car came with. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove that. Piece of cake, it's just held in by a keeper pin. Of course, I say piece of cake, that means I'm probably going to jinx it. Something I always tell my wife is don't say famous last words. But in this case, we got lucky. Now I'm just going to put, even though this bushing is messed up, I'm going to put that back in there. I'm not sure if I need this. I'm going to hang on to it just in case. And I'm going to put the keeper back in there as well. Now this being the clutch pedal, it's the one that has the actual shaft on it. This is what we're going to be hooking up to the bearings. The quadrant gets welded on top of this once that's all said and done. So I think I can go ahead and move forward and clean everything up. Move this because I know you want to talk to me and not to my gut. I'm going to go ahead and move forward, clean everything up. Read the instructions very carefully on the bearing kit. Go ahead and try to put the bearings in. I'm going to order the clutch quadrant, which will take about a week or so to get here. And of course, at that point, we're waiting on parts, so this entire video is going to develop, and we'll keep going. Stick around. I will continue in just a moment. Now the way this works is this has to be welded onto this here, then the bearings go in like that. I have to make sure this is dead center, clamp it in place, and then weld that up. I'll probably spot it into place and then weld it into place, and it goes on either side. Per the instructions, you can see here, there is your clutch arm, your brake arm down here. This is the arm here. You can see where these weld in, and you've got washers that go on either side, and shims as well. Very detailed instructions. This is one reason why I like Mustang Steve. He doesn't sell a lot of stuff that I can use, but the stuff I can use is top notch. But the first thing I got to do, this is good enough for rust encapsulating primer, but if I'm going to weld to this, I need that cleaner, so I'm going to get my grinder. The one thing I have learned as a novice welder is you have to have clean surfaces. Now I've got a nice clean surface in which to weld this to. I'll need to clamp it in place dead center. That way I've got a nice good run straight through for my bearings. crappy welding capabilities aside, it's ugly as hell, but it works. This is slid in there real good. You can see the bearings pop out, no problem. Line the bearings up, and as you saw, it goes right in. No problems at all. It will definitely work. I squeeze those in, press them in just a little bit. This will work. I'm going to clean this up, make it look nice and presentable, and put it together. Okay, here we are just a little bit later. Everything's cleaned up. It's time to assemble this. First thing I've got to do is I'm going to put the spring mount on and the clutch stop right here. So that will go like this. And here, get this on. Like so. Again, I'm not 100% sure it uses this spring mount, but I'm going to put it on there anyway. And I'm going to have to pull all this back apart when I get the other items to weld onto the clutch pedal, the quadrant. Once I get the quadrant in, I'll pull it back apart and I'll weld that back on. But I want to put everything together, make sure it all lines up, fits, and moves smoothly. Okay, there that is. Now it's time to put everything together here. Now, according to this, first thing I've got to do on the brake pedal is there's two nylon bushings that go in here, right here. So I'm going to slide those in real quick, like that, and like that, and put this aside. Now this, got a shim that goes on through the bearing, washer, pedal, washer, out of the other bearing, another shim, and that's it. So there's the washer. And put this up in here. shim here, and then the cotter pin, which is right here. Okay, I believe I'm going to use the original pin because it seems to work better. Just like that. Okay, to demonstrate, just cut the crap out of myself off my vise. That hurt. Hopefully I won't start bleeding, but anyway, we welded on the rings which mount the bearings. This has a shim, then the bearing, and then on the inside you'll see we've got the big washer. Then it goes through the pedal with those bushings, another washer, and then on this side we've got the bearing and the shim and the keeper pin. That is mounted, and now I'm going to try, without killing myself, to mount the clutch pedal spring, and that should complete this entire operation. And the good news is I always take pictures so I know the orientation of this, so it's going to go on there like that. Now let's just see if I can get it on there. Try something. I don't think this will work, but it's worth a shot. Actually, that worked beautifully. Go figure. Learn something new every day. Wow, kind of impressed myself with that. Again, I need to check with Mustang Steve because the cable clutch actually has a spring on it. So this spring may not be needed. I don't know, but I will find out. Some trouble getting this done because these are tight. I need to loosen it up so I can actually adjust it a little bit. Again, get my channel locks a hold of it. And there we go. It just goes to show you where there's a will, there's a way. Now pull this forward. that. And our pedal system is back together and looking nice. See here we have the brake pedal. Sorry about my camera work, but my tripod is not wanting to work right. Here we go. Okay. That's working on a bearing. This is working on a bearing as well. It's got that spring on it for now. But I think that will look nice and proper. One more thing out of the way. Again, I know my welds are suck, but I did manage to clean them up. It does say that you can spot weld, or not spot weld, but tack weld all the way around it, which is what I've done. Following the directions, they say you don't want to put too much heat in this because it might cause problems getting the bearing to fit. I did weld this side more than this one, and I did have a little bit of trouble getting the bearing in. But as you can see, instead of the old style bushings that always give out, we now have bearings. And it looks nice. Again, looking underneath, everything works beautifully, and that's another thing done. And now with that, it is completely together. Everything is done. All I've got to do now is when I get the quadrant welded on there, and then it'll be ready to go back in the car. Had a little bit of an incident while I was trying to get this, I was bent over trying to get this master cylinder rod in place. This spring popped out, making that go forward, and popped me in the mouth. Ended up having to go to the hospital and get a couple of stitches. Be careful out there. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I enjoyed everything but this, but it is what it is. Be sure and hit like and subscribe, because as soon as I get the parts in for the quadrant, I'm going to be putting those in, and then that way the pedal assembly will be completely done. But with this right here, it's already much better than it was, because you're no longer dealing with bushings that wear out. You now have a roller bearing system in there to make the pedals work a lot better. I like this system. Again, Mustang Steve is who carries this. I am not sponsored by them, of course. I don't have any sponsors, but I like to point out that they are the ones that do this particular conversion, and it is very, very useful. I recommend it highly. Thanks a lot. Join us next time.